Thank you, members. I'd like to open this extraordinary council meeting. Members are reminded that the normal housekeeping arrangements apply which have previously been referred to. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by the Council for live and subsequent broadcast and will be published on the Council website for a minimum of 6 months. Agenda item 1, apologies. Chief Executive, will you read out the apologies received for this extraordinary meeting?
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies have been received from Councillor Norman Decent, Councillor Jackie Edwards, Councillor LJ Evans, Councillor David Flagg, Councillor Nick Geary, Councillor Marion Le Pedven and Councillor Kieran Wilson.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Declarations of interest. Chief Executive, can you report on any declarations of interest received?
None have been received, Chairman, but if any member is required to make any other declaration, then they could refer to the flow chart that's set out in the agenda for guidance.
Thank you. Agenda item 3, motion of no confidence. Councillor Dedman, I call upon you to move your motion as set out on the agenda at item 3. You have up to 3 minutes. Councillor Dedman.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, as you say, the motion is set out, and my point to make first is that in merging the 3 councils, as we did in 2019, we were promised a glittering, efficient, well-run future, although not many in Christchurch actually fell for that. And what have we got? We've got a Conservative council whose leaders have caused us national embarrassment and a failing council, culminating in the fiasco of the last council meeting with a disastrous public health issue. No care by this Conservative administration for the good of the councillors and for our long-suffering officers. Right, so the peer challenge states, and I have read it through, it was very interesting, BCP Workforce is looking to the leadership of the council to set and model the culture of the organisation. Well, that's a joke. What model are our council leaders giving? What culture is it when sick councillors are dragged into meetings just to win a vote? And it was a vote to emasculate scrutiny, which we have heard of just now. But it's not even about that incident or that this is a failing council. It's about the character, the integrity. I'm afraid everybody can plainly see, even over the country, that the leaders fail that character test abysmally. And what example are our leaders setting when not only that evening, but throughout their tenure, we see spin, falsehoods, aggression, disrespect? This council, which is the 11th in the country, suffers from this Conservative administration's bad governance. It suffers from a lack of openness, a lack of trust, a lack of integrity. I'm afraid the leadership of this council fails the good governance test. And again, from the peer challenge, I'm not sure which bit of it, but I typed it out for myself. This council must maintain a sound financial platform underpinned by robust risk management. A prime example of your bad governance. We're dragged down the road of huge borrowings, financial wheeling and dealing, do a deal with our beach huts, load our residents with huge debt and risk. And councillors not even allowed to see the documents that those plans, if they are plans, are based on. And this is all just to fulfil the Conservative leadership ambitions of the city by the sea, which is a city nobody wants. Cronyism. You proudly offer a concierge service for developers. Sounds grand, but a council should be a guard at the gate to prevent, not enable, wholesale inappropriate developments. The financial utopia we were promised with LGR has been dissipated by this Conservative leadership. Christchurch residents didn't want this merger. It seems Poole residents didn't, but they didn't even get a say. And instead of all these things we were promised, if we gave up our sovereignty, we get leaders who fail the character test, who take risks with our money, who open the door to developers whilst not delivering for our people. Bad decisions, broken promises, which people all across the towns can see and constantly comment on. This Conservative leadership fails to provide proper, responsible local government. The culture they have created shows them not fit to leave this council. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Dedman. Councillor McCormack, I understand you wish to second the motion. You have up to 3 minutes.
I do, thank you, Chair. I'm seconding this vote of no confidence for the following reasons. Number one, the budget built on sand where all the reports were not made available to members. Number two, the leadership making incomplete or inaccurate statements, mostly around just reiterating existing policy rather than addressing the question. Number three, bringing the council into disrepute locally and nationally. One only needs to Google BCP Council to see the extent of this. Number four, large question marks over future places and its actual role within the council. Very worried that when at a Christchurch Town Council meeting, I was handed a plan of Christchurch civic centres that members had not seen sight of. Number five, COVID grant maladministration, which one of my colleagues will go into more detail on. Number six, vanity projects, for example, barbecues on the beach. This money could have been better spent in our communities. Number seven, customer service failure. I know many councillors in this chamber tonight feel more like customer service agents rather than democratically elected members. Number eight, the absolute shambles that was the local plan consultation. This in itself was a horrid example of how disconnected from the residents this council has become. Number nine, the failure of the leadership to transfer sites to Christchurch Town Council as per agreement pre-LGR, along with the legacy play park money which has appeared to disappear into Never Never Land. Number 10, the willingness of the leadership to sell the Waitrose car park to private developers but not Christchurch Town Council, clearly showing favouritism. Number 11, the decision to sell the pool beach huts without taking the views of those pool councillors and their residents. All of this and many more issues during the current leadership's tenure, including the extraordinary risks taken at the last council meeting by the leadership, has led me to the conclusion that Councillor Mellor does not have the honourable integrity as our current senior public representative of this council, and that I and others have no confidence in him. And quite frankly, in layman's terms, I personally think that this council, under this leadership, is on the verge of collapse, trying to play poker with the public purse.
Thank you, Councillor McCormack. I will now call on other members who wish to speak on the motion. Assuming the leader wishes to speak on this motion, I intend to call on him to do so just before Councillor Dedman's right of reply, unless he indicates during the debate that he would wish to speak before that. And you have up to 3 minutes. First indicated was Councillor Cox, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Much appreciated. I'm afraid I'm going to have to possibly disappoint some people on my side of the chamber. I must question the reasoning and the purpose behind this motion. Why would we want to get rid of this leader? He has so many talents and unique abilities, which we may be underestimating. He persuades right-minded people to support decisions which are not in the interests of the local taxpayer. He gains power for a party despite having just 30% of the vote. He spends millions on a lift we don't own. He buys barbecues that don't work, commissions IT infrastructure that is out of date, and by the time he digs up half of Bournemouth, will be out of date. He can even sell the rights of income to beach huts to cover his own overspending. That's very clever. Arthur Daly would be very proud. He rides roughshod over the concerns of the Section 151 officer, taking BCP to the brink of a Section 114 notice. He manages to put the KPMG report in the same outbox as the Sue Gray report. He brings COVID-ridden councillors to back his council decisions to silence the voice of the opposition. He is blatantly economical with the truth when it gets him out of holes that he's been found out. So, Leslie, remind me, why would we want him gone? He's a goldmine for non-Conservative councillors. But, of course, oh yes, forgive me, we're here to serve the public, aren't we? All of the public of BCP. And as councillors, we're obliged to put the best interests of all of the residents first. So in that case, it's a no-brainer. I will, of course, support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Councillor Kelsey, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. One of the comments that was made earlier was about disrespect. I don't think anyone from this side of the House here tonight or at any time has ever been asked to shut up, sit down, or been told that they can't speak anymore. That sort of thing happens from the other side. This whole motion appears to be founded on a deliberate misunderstanding. Let me be clear, government guidance says try to stay at home for 5 days following initial symptoms or a positive test. Whatever the whispers which went round the chamber during the last meeting, this is the case. And it is inappropriate to speculate about private health details of any individuals. Earlier in the meeting last week, we took a unanimous decision to support another member to recover in privacy. The wild speculation regarding members of the Conservative group for a political purpose is a marked contrast, and I hope that those responsible for this reflect upon their own double standards.
Thank you, Councillor Kelsey. Councillor Howell, please.
Thank you, Chair. It was telling the leader's response to Councillor Cox's question in the last meeting. He said that the car park will stay in council control and it will remain the opinion of the council. He didn't say the administration, he said the council. He has no right to speak on the future decisions of the council like that, and it's indicative of the way he has run this council. He manages his party, his group, with a command and control structure and marginalises other members. This allows him to get decisions done, but bad decisions, because he's not involving the full range of skills and talents of members of the council. Consequently, we have a transformation programme that is in trouble, we have a council that's in increasing financial distress, and he's trying to limp along to the next elections before all that comes out. It used to be the case, well, that certain Conservatives liked things to be done properly. Indeed, many Conservatives in local associations, I believe, still have that view. But what has happened is that politicians in the National Conservative Party, as demonstrated almost daily on the television and in Parliament, have used their positions of power to make money for themselves and their friends. You know, the COVID contracts, etc. We all know about it. And this is, in reality, what happens when you have these tight structures where you have a few people at the top trying to control things very rigidly. In terms of what is happening in this council, future places has already been brought up. I was supportive in principle of the creation of future places, but only, as I said many times, on the basis that there was proper scrutiny and there was cross-party representation on the board. Still, we only have 4 board members of that organisation, yet it's supposedly managing and looking after all these 14, at least, projects. You know, what's it doing? None of us know. Well, maybe you know, the 2 people sitting over there who are on the board, but the rest of us, you know, we cannot scrutinise the enormous amounts of money going through that organisation because we are not given the information. You know, we need a leader of this council who can bring us all together. You know, we are roughly split half and half. We need to work together in order to deliver for our residents, and the current leader is incapable of doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Howell. Councillor Hadley, please.
Thank you, Chair. Like many people, I spent the last 2 years being very careful to avoid COVID. My wife works in Poole Hospital, and if she were unavailable to do through testing positive, that could disrupt cancer patients' operations. So I take it very personally that this Conservative administration leadership, on losing an amendment attempting to attain scrutiny of their decisions, chose to call a recess and hassle in members who are clearly visibly unwell on their arrival. This is far from a caring leadership. The Chief Executive was rightly livid with the appearance of the ill members and called the meeting to a halt. That's what happened. On the radio this morning, the leader claimed that no one was summoned in and all government guidance was followed. Yet 5 members were seen straight on their phones, and it's pretty unprecedented for someone who'd sent apologies to a meeting to appear, let alone 2 people, exactly as we return to the chamber. Current NHS England guidance clearly highlights that you should stay at home and avoid contact with other people if you're unwell, but also if someone else in your household may have COVID. You should limit contact with people you do not live with, particularly in crowded places, indoors or where there is not much fresh air. His statements on public radio are blatantly untrue, and the subsequent spinning and truth-bending was something to behold. I guess it's good practice for any ambitions to join the pits of Westminster. The Twitter accounts were all locked down just to comments from friends. We were repeatedly accused in administration of holding a fire sale. Indeed, it was mentioned again tonight. We hadn't actually sold anything, but the leader was, until challenged, prepared to sell the Christchurch Waitrose car park on a mild threat that they leave town. Well, surprise, surprise, it didn't stack up and Waitrose hasn't gone. And now there's a commercial site in Poole, apparently to be sold to the leaseholder, which I'm told is probably well below its market value. That's a fire sale. It currently returns about 5% interest per annum for council taxpayers. Why is it being sold? Because transformation is being so badly handled by this leadership. It was intended to reduce headcount by 600, but it's currently gone up by 400 instead. Our beach hut revenues have had to be diverted to fill the shortfall. In a debate about retaining part of the Poole Civic Centre for the mayoral function and the coroner's service, we were informed how important it was that the coroner had this space. We sought assurances that community groups should use this space in the evenings, and the leader at that time repeatedly suggested a hotel was a community use. That wouldn't support cash-strapped community groups. Everything would be chargeable at inflated hotel prices. But now we learn that no work has been done. The Cabinet decision of October 2021 has completely been put aside by the leadership, without informing all councillors. Letting someone develop a hotel on the site is apparently far more important than securing the coroner's service in BCP. Will this be an open tender or another dodgy backroom deal? I have no confidence in the leader and the deputy leader, nor trust their judgment or anything they say. I would invite members opposite to vote with their conscience and not their instructions. The elections last week highlighted that the public are fed up with being treated like fools.
Thank you, Councillor Hadley. Councillor Rigby, please.
Thank you, Chair. This isn't working, is it? We're 3 years into BCP Council existing, and this is the third vote of confidence that we're having. The Council has got no identity. Residents can't get through to speak to anyone on the phones, we heard that earlier, and they're unhappy with the way the transformation is going, and yet we're sitting here debating who should be running this council. It's time for change. So let's change not just who, but how this council's being run. As a new council, there's no better time than now, and I'm speaking on behalf of my group, the Bournemouth Independent and Greens, and we believe it's time to move away from the leader and cabinet model of governance. We think we should move to a committee system, remove the power sitting with a few select members, bring all elected members into the decision-making process. I was pleased to hear earlier the Conservative side of this room say they want to bring residents and opposition councillors into decision-making. So let's do that, and let's do it properly. Because I'm going to say something you won't hear many politicians saying. No one has a monopoly on good ideas. No one. Yet with our current system of leader and cabinet members' decisions backed by a strong whip, there's no space for scrutiny or cooperation. The system in no way is accurately representing the views and wishes of the residents across BCP. We all deserve better. As a Green, I disbelieve in consensus politics, that all votes matter, not just those cast for a single party or person. With first past the post voting, combined with leader and cabinet councils, the views of the many are more often than not overlooked. That's why I'll be supporting this motion tonight. I want it to be successful, but I urge a leadership candidate to step forward who will support me in bringing a motion to this council to have a referendum on whether or not we should retain this leader and cabinet system or move to a more stable and cooperative committee system. Other councils have been using this system for years. Sheffield City Council is changing this month, and Bristol have just voted to get rid of their mayor and move to a committee. Now, it's not going to be easy, and working with people you disagree with can be very uncomfortable. But because everyone is included in decisions, it means decisions that we come to as BCP Council will have broad support from everyone and can go ahead without the risk that future administrations, whoever they are, will rip it up and start again. So in summary, yeah, it's time for change, but not only a change of leader, a change to a more democratic, transparent, proportional and cooperative way of working. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rigby. Councillor Hadley, you've already spoken. Councillor Fear, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I speak tonight on this vote disappointed. Disappointed that after all this time, where this Conservative administration has overseen record investment in children's services, adult services, revolutionised the way our seafront is attracting tourists from across the UK and further afield, and the way we are supporting our staff through the Charity Mind and Carers UK. I'm disappointed that we are not working towards even higher goals together. But instead, a vote of no confidence has been tabled, and the only reason I can see for this, Mr. Chairman, is that the members opposite do not have one original idea between them. Nothing to enhance the lives of the residents who we serve, so all that is left is politicising from the sidelines. Fear not, BCP Conservatives have a plan, and it's working. It's working because we have a leader in Councillor Drew Mellor, who has admirers from across this chamber. So much so, a member opposite complimented Councillor Mellor by calling him Billy Big Balls. But seriously, Mr. Chairman...
You were quoting there, Councillor Fear, but I don't want to hear that again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But seriously, Mr. Chairman, Councillor Mellor understands working across charity, business and local government and caring for our most vulnerable. But who is there to take care of the carers? Once again, is this Conservative administration. I'm pleased to announce this evening, Mr. Chairman, this year we are launching the Respite Raffle, which our carers will have a chance of winning well-deserved free 5-star respite in our award-winning Bournemouth Beach Lodges. This is to recognise the fantastic work our carers do and another chance to raise awareness for carers' work. So let's get on with the job, delivering well-beating services and vote down this motion. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Fear. Councillor Phipps, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, you already know residents and councillors are completely disillusioned with how this council is run. The leader and deputy leader preside over a council perceived by many to be failing, with no transparency, run with behind-door decisions, manipulation and falsehoods. The proposer and seconder have clearly spelt out, and others, issues of how this leadership is perceived, both locally and nationally, as untrustworthy and unreliable. A prime example in my ward, you know about it, a grant of 70,000 of taxpayers' money, suspiciously, in my view, given to a non-existent lagoon operation, money meant for companies genuinely struggling with the impact of COVID, given away to promote a pet project, which was not an operational business. When I questioned it, the untruths and the spin came into play. This full council, residents and Herne Parish Council were told the money was to bring a planning application to submission by the 31st of March, but it wasn't. Residents across Christchurch were appalled at the manipulation of the truth. Grand projects are planned for the Dream City. With no way of paying for them, we operate on a wing and a prayer by selling beach huts, borrowing more and putting residents into hop for the next 50 years. Even the Section 151 officer, in his budget report, said that the council is living beyond its means. Nevertheless, the borrowing cap has been raised and almost reached already. Then the brand new council company, Future Places, 3 directors employed on 6-figure salaries. But through a commissioning plan, they'll be employing consultants to do a lot of the work. These obscene high-end salaries are just a slap in the face to residents who are having to pay them, whilst many of them struggle to pay their bills. Even worse, the company also have a total of around 11 million loan from council taxpayers as well, with controversially the two council leaders as directors. They preside over a council which has so many flaws and is failing, there's just no trust in this leadership. The list of spin, manipulation of the truth, irresponsibility, backdoor decisions and poor management from this leadership goes on. They don't care about residents, in my view, they just do their own thing. And I think the reputation of this council is in shreds. I do understand the leader was on air this morning, denying asking any unwell councillors to come into April's meeting to try to win a vote. Well, there is a famous quote. Well, he would say that, wouldn't he? But no one is fooled. I fully support this motion of no confidence in the leader. We cannot go on like this.
Thank you, Councillor Phipps. Councillor Slade, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm under absolutely no illusion that a change of leader will not lead to a change of administration. You only have to look how everyone's turned up this week when they didn't bother to turn up 2 weeks ago. But the behaviour of the leader over the last year has been utterly inexcusable, and even the members of his own group should recognise that. And I will be bringing a request to this Constitutional Working Party that we consider being able to have a secret ballot for a vote of no confidence, as it is quite obvious that nobody on that side of the chamber is going to step out of line this evening. But I think, having said that, it is worth clarifying just a few additional points on top of all of the things that my colleagues have already said. The current leader has consistently failed to engage with other group leaders. For over a year, he failed to attend any of the group leaders' meetings with Democratic Services, sending a different lackey at every single meeting. He never actually told us what he thought. In particular, I just want to raise his behaviour at the Overview and Scrutiny Board meeting last summer related to transformation. Within minutes of that meeting started, the way that he spoke to the chair and to the senior officers present was disgraceful. His dictatorial style in closing down officers that we had specifically requested that we wanted to hear from was absolutely outrageous. And I think it is time to actually get some respect for the leader. It's interesting that he is so desperate to retain power that he suspends a member from his own group but doesn't do the decent thing and allow that member to have the seats to which she is entitled as a member of an unaligned, as a non-aligned member for the period of a suspension, but insists on keeping hold of that 41st member in his group so that he has those votes on those committees. And talking of decent, he hasn't done the decent thing and asked a councillor to resign who no longer lives anywhere near this council. Finally, I would just like to back up my colleague, Councillor Rigby. It should be noted that in our first budget, which Councillor Rigby will recall, we actually did set aside money for a corporate governance review to consider moving to a committee system. Everybody that was involved in that first cabinet will recall that that was there. And I repeated the commitment to do so at the time of the vote of no confidence in 2020. So there has always been a commitment to work across party from this side. And I will give him my commitment right now that whatever happens in the future, we will work towards that because we too believe in consensus. And I would just finish by saying it is fairly clear that across the country, north, south, east and west, the Conservatives are running out of road. And you have 11 months left. You can change your leader, but if you carry on this way, you won't have a council. I'm worried as to whether you will even have a council if the financial behaviours carry on the way they are. What you did over the last 12 months has been dangerous financially. What you did 2 weeks ago was dangerous morally and for the health of the staff that support us. And I think you should have done the right thing. I said it then and I'll say it now. You should do the right thing and step down.
Thank you, Councillor Slade. Councillor Gabriel, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I do hope this motion fails and we get together to support the leadership. I think it's important for us to focus on lots of the positives that are going through the council at the moment. And for me, which really pulled my eye today, was the great work we're doing for housing for local people. So this year, we're going to be aiming to complete 849 new homes. Cynthia Road, 22 new homes.
Hear, hear.
Moorside Road, 14 new homes.
Hear,
Wimborne
hear.
Road, 9 new homes. Batton Gardens, 2 new homes. Craven Court, 24. Wilkinson Drive, 11. Templeton House, 27. Duck Lane, 12. Cabbage Patch, St Stephen's Road, 11 new homes. The long-awaited project to house our residents that are at risk of homelessness on Herbert Avenue is taking place. That's so important for us. And what I can say is being back on the council for a year, one thing the residents do not want, they do not want a Labour, Lib Dem, Labour, Christchurch SNP-like coalition party running their services. They do not want that. What they want is strong, cohesive leadership with a positive approach and a fear of not getting things done and changing things. And to do that is hard. And this is what this leadership is doing. And they're doing a grand job. And this motion should fail, and we should give this leadership the vote of support, which I'm sure they get. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Farr, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I was first elected in 2019, I was eager to deliver upon the priorities of the residents of Kinston. Unfortunately, under the Lib Dem-led alliance, it was an uphill battle. It felt like we were left out in Kinston. We were starved of funding, for example, the centralisation of the SILPOT, meaning that we were unable to support the organisations that do so much for our community. When Drew became leader, things changed. He listened, asking us what we needed to make Kinston an even better place to live. Not only that, by working with him and the administration, we have been able to deliver on our priorities for those residents. We delivered £750,000 investment to rebuild Fernheath Football Pavilion that is truly top of the range facility for the community so desperately that deserves it. We delivered £50,000 of funding for the regeneration of Kinston swim bath sites, which is ongoing. We delivered £34,000 to further support our thriving High Street, with events planned throughout the year to bring our community together and drive footfall to our hard-working local businesses. We delivered over £16,000 of SIL funding to support community projects and other groups. We delivered another £22,000 or so to improve and replace equipment in local play parks. We delivered £8 million investment into cleaner, greener, safer, that has led to improvements to road markings and surfaces and cleaner streets in Kinston. Through working closely with Drew's Conservative administration, rather than sniping from the sidelines as some members opposite seem so keen on, we have been able to deliver for the residents of Kinston and West Howe. And that is why I am so surprised to hear this motion brought forward today. The Conservative administration, led by Drew Miller, has enabled me to deliver for the residents I was elected to serve. And that is why I'll be voting against this motion, as I have full confidence in Drew to continue to deliver so much more for the residents who put their trust in me. In fact, I have so much confidence in him, I should call him Postman Pat, as he will continue to deliver for us. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Farr. Councillor Trent, please.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of the last speakers have said things which are absolutely not true. First of all, it said the people of this area didn't want lots of random opposition parties running things, when in fact barely a third of the residents of this town actually voted for the party that now has the majority. Our electoral system is up the spout, but we're stuck with it. But there was a point made about SIL. When we were looking at SIL, almost 2 years ago now, and it was still the system as set up by the Unity Alliance, we had a panel representative of Paul in our case, looking at all the SIL bids with all of the information and deciding what should and shouldn't happen with it. This time, it was a panel of 3. They didn't even have the full facts and information because it didn't involve enough people in doing it. And quite frankly, and I will say this, it might be controversial, but £40,000 was stolen from the ward I represent by money that was being taken for BCP-wide projects and not on projects which the residents would immediately benefit from. I think there's been some atrocious management. Unfortunately, what we've got is a culture of entitlement. We've also got a leadership that doesn't inform fellow councillors, doesn't involve fellow councillors. And just 2 examples in the last couple of weeks. We learn about, almost accidentally, we learn about the change of plans for Poole Civic Centre. But not the the current deputy mayor of the day, the sheriff of the day, the mayor-elect knew anything about it. We found out about it almost by accident. And when other people have been spoken to, they didn't know about it. And the other thing is, and this shows a lack of judgment, one of the most iconic buildings in Poole has to be the Barclays International Building. How on earth did that get decided without it involving the wider membership?
It's 3 minutes, Councillor Trent.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You know, sort of, it is things like that show a lack of judgment, and quite frankly, we know that we're going to have a Conservative administration, but let's have someone who involves people and respects people.
Thank you, Councillor Trent. Thank you. Councillor Dunlop.
Mr Chairman, it is extraordinary how two members of a political party who aren't in possession of two policies to rub together should bring forward a motion of no confidence in the leader of this council. A leader who has demonstrated his commitment to the whole of BCP with greatly increased investment in services and the community. A leader that has a bold vision for all three towns with a record of delivery and a creative ambition to elevate this region and everyone in it with no one left behind. The whole existence of the Christchurch Independent Party is predicated on "we don't like Bournemouth," closely followed by "we don't like anywhere else," whose primary purpose seems to be to cut Christchurch off from the rest of the world, pull down the shutters and deny its residents, in particular the next generation, the economic and cultural benefits of being part of BCP. As someone whose purpose in this council is to connect all of us through culture across neighbourhoods, towns and the entire region, bringing together multiple communities and heritage across boundaries, I can't tell you how sad your insular attitude makes me feel. But the reason I am able to pursue this passion is because of that man sat right there. I don't need to hard sell to Councillor Miller the value of arts and culture, how it changes lives, its impact on health and well-being, how it illuminates our inner lives and enriches our emotional world. He gets it. And unlike all of you who wanted to remove cultural spending from the 21-22 budget, the leader of this council not only gets it, but is prepared to invest in its development. Because of this investment, this council helped hospitality, retail, business and our residents bounce back from the pandemic. Tens of thousands of pounds in grants supported community events, performances and activities right across PCP. Soundstorm delighted hundreds of children. Over 700 music, dance, theatre, movie and pop-up performances to enrich people's lives. There were new festivals and the Cultural Compact launched. In 22-23, you can look forward to public art projects, community arts development, cultural festival development and new partnerships with Giant Gallery, AUB and the BIDS, and the formation of a network of cultural providers across the region. There are cabinet members responsible for culture across the UK who would kill to be in my position. You're asking me to support a vote of no confidence in someone who is 100% behind my ambitions and aspirations for cultural development across the region. You're having a laugh. You would be asking me to devastate all that has been achieved and been it. I will not be supporting this motion, Mr Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dunlop. Councillor Ball, please.
Thank you, Chair. I don't think we should take lightly a confidence vote. It is not something I would choose to support out of hand. Generally, in most cases, it's the administration's decision to decide who the leader is. And they vote whether they were originally elected under a different party or as an independent, and even if they are living in a totally different part of the country. But we have a situation now where I think it is detrimental to BCP Council. It is detrimental to the residents, and it is time to think again. Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole deserve better. I have spoken to residents. I'm hearing from residents who have been unable to talk to the council. They're not able to get the responses they require when they try to make time to get in touch. The phone system isn't working, messages are not being answered, and this is a key fundamental part of what a council does, or should be doing, communicating with the residents. And I am of the opinion that BCP Council is failing on this. It's failing on enforcement. It's failing on planning. It's failing on children's services. And perhaps after the earlier meeting, it'll be failing on scrutiny as well. This council appears to be failing. The one area that seems to be working is the press releases painting a picture that is all rosy, and the council is doing well. It isn't. It feels like the Wide Boys, having taken over, are building up debt for future generations, for them to deal with. While in modern Conservative style, they party and appear to share the proceeds with their friends. The leader sets the tone and the culture. I say to the members opposite, have a look, make a change now, for the sake of our residents, our future residents, and the sake of this council and its standing and reputation.
Thank you, Councillor Ball. Just at this point, because the debate will continue, can I just ask some language that has been used whilst people haven't been named, but accusations have been made? Please consider what you're saying. Thank you. Councillor Judesbutt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm actually grateful to you for that reference. I just need to put one thing straight. I'm nobody's lackey. It was a derogatory remark made for... I'm a lot of things, but I am not a lackey, and it was not made in the sense of the word, which is a servant. And I am a servant under the Representation of the People Act. I serve my residents. So moving on from that, total disrespect, and not something we should be hearing from a past leader of this council. And so unfortunately, regrettably, this evening we've heard a lot of disingenuous snipes and dripping sarcasm from others. And none of this, of course, is what we were expecting, of course, to hear all of this. But, of course, none of the speakers who speak tonight, they have an absolute right and they're entitled to their opinion. But that's exactly where it lies, firmly in the realms of opinion, and it's certainly not fact. Councillor Drew Mellor, as a newly appointed leader of this council in October 2020, just such a short time ago, and huge achievements made in that short time, just got on with the job. No names, no pack drill. He appointed his cabinet and was not afraid to reshuffle and refresh this lineup last November to ensure maximum output from the cabinet policy team. In a huge step change, Councillor Mellor has ensured that the quasi-judicial committees of planning and licensing are able to focus in real terms on the BCP Big Plan, working within required parameters to grow BCP's prosperity to benefit all residents, and not, as has been previously the disengaged practice of past leaders, to leave the quasi-judicial committees siloed and simply of themselves. Councillor Mellor has created and established a sound business ethos into council processes. Hurrah! Something sorely lacking in previous administrations. He lost no time in taking this skill set out to the regions in his proactive membership of a host of outside bodies, ensuring all-round delivery of sound policy across the whole conurbation. We've heard this evening about the many material achievements of this administration under the leadership of Councillor Drew Mellor. And I, as I enter my 24th year as a serving councillor, have seen many council leaders come and go, some derisory and some innovative and of their time. Councillor Mellor has proven to us his innate ability to deal with whatever he is faced with. He relishes change and challenge, and he will never allow petty political brickbats to stop the necessary work of this council. Lastly, I'd like to thank the putter and seconder of this VONC for affording us this timely opportunity to acknowledge and celebrate going forward the work and achievements of the leader of this council, Councillor Drew Mellor. Mr. Chairman, I shall not be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Butt. Councillor Hilliard, please.
Thank you, Chair. Christchurch Independents were formed after the result of local government reorganisation. Our key determinant of that decision was to better represent our residents. Without a whip, we could truly reflect what our residents wanted and support them. We should all be guided by the 7 principles of public life when we serve our residents. Decisions should be in the public's best interest, not to benefit a few. Leaders must show integrity, not play games with health and safety. Decisions on contracts must be on merit, not favour. Leaders should welcome public scrutiny. Decisions should be based on open discussions and transparent reports. Leaders must be honest when speaking. The administration should lead by example, not by the whip. We have seen failings in all these principles by this administration. It is now time for a positive change. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hilliard. Councillor Bagwell, I understand you indicated.
I did, Chair, thank you. I've listened to the reasons given to get rid of Councillor Mellor, but basically most of those points were about tonight's previous meeting, which you got the answers from the portfolio holders. I find that really strange. From my point of view, okay, if I have a problem and I need an answer, I usually direct it to the portfolio holder, the chief exec and the leader. And I get answers. So I don't see why you guys don't do the same thing. You get answers. I just don't understand it. I, for one, will be siding with Drew. I believe he's done a really good job so far. Nobody's perfect. You know, they aren't, by definition. But actually, he's given it his all, and I appreciate that a lot, as do my residents, strangely enough. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Bagwell. Councillor Kelly, please.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Over the last 18 months, the leader of this council has been clear that our communities are at the heart of everything we do. Those communities are diverse and have different needs. We've been putting into place new systems which will enable us to work with people of all kinds. Groups can be geographical or cultural, age or ability related. Everyone is important to us, and we want to engage, encourage and enable them to take an active role within their local communities. We have pledged to become an age-friendly region. We are actively engaging with the local Poverty Truth Commission, and we are recruiting community development workers to find out where the strengths are and build on them effectively. Working with a world-renowned expert on community building, we are spreading this ethos right across the council. We're about to embark on a project with our third sector partners, funded by Heritage Lottery, to find all those seldom heard members of our ethnic minority communities and enable them to enrich their lives by introducing new activities and social inclusion opportunities. We've set up our new Vibrant Communities Partnership Board to bring both internal and external partners together to share best practice and ensure that we are not duplicating work, but rather enhancing it. Our Together We Can team are currently assisting with the Homes for Ukraine scheme. The passion from those people who came forward to volunteer has not waned, and they, with our staff, are working hard to ensure that our guests from that war-torn country are made to feel welcome and safe with us here in BCP. Mr. Chairman, far from limping along, as has been mentioned earlier, we are galloping through and we are really helping our communities. And this is why the proposed vote of no confidence should be rejected, so that this administration continues all the good work currently underway. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. Councillor Farquhar, please.
Thank you, Chair. May I propose that this is a recorded vote? Sorry, Chair, I don't think you might have heard over the laughter from a member opposite.
Yes, I did hear that. Thank you. It requires 17 councillors to request for a recorded vote.
Yeah, we've got 17.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Farquhar. Your contributions are always invaluable. Thank you. Was there anything else you'd like to add, Councillor Farquhar?
No, thank you, Chair. I think we'll do our numbers and talking on a doorstep.
Thank you, Councillor Farquhar. Councillor Toby Johnson, please.
Thank you, Chair. On a positive and personal side, this administration has given me as a lead member the opportunity to combat an area that not one member in this chamber could disagree with, to tackle the deep-rooted inequalities that blight our conurbation. With the Cabinet paper that has gone through, the forthcoming report on health inequality, the investment into Boscombe, this administration did that. As we have seen, some members opposite would enjoy BCP to improve, but not to develop, to get better, but not to change. This is simply impossible. We must evolve and look to the future in order to prevent our towns from being left behind in a world where all sensible people accept that things must improve. Regarding a member's stated inability to scrutinise some of the reports, if they don't have the ability to scrutinise reports written professionally, that is not the fault of those writing or presenting those reports. It is a suggestion that they may not know everything. I'd suggest that they read them more carefully and actually listen to what is said from this side of the chamber when they ask their questions. With regards to the movers of the motion, I would ask that if they wish to lead this council, if so, stand up and say so. Give us their credentials that with their blinkered and backward and inward-facing vision, you could look after all three towns and lead with the vim, vigour, integrity and vision that we apparently so clearly lack, despite it being demonstrated by our leader and deputy leader consistently. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor White, I think you indicated.
Yeah, gosh. Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to make a brief comment on children's services. I'd just like to remind colleagues that we agreed a 12.3 million budget increase this year, which is an increase of 18%. That means that over the last 2 years, the budget will have increased by 35%. This is absolutely not smoke and mirrors. This really does underline our commitment to making our children our top priority. And it's one of many, many reasons for confidence in this administration and its leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor White. Anybody else would like to indicate before I progress? Councillor Allen.
forefront of this work has helped BCP secure excellent funding from central government, which has meant that we've been able to accommodate and support many more people experiencing homelessness than we've ever achieved in the past. And we're having excellent success with prevention work. That is delivering for our residents and our communities. And our leader, Councillor Drew Mellor, is driving this agenda and has always given these projects his full backing without hesitation. I think I'd like to back up what Councillor Beverley Dunlop said about the way that he backs all these projects and how passionate he is. This shows how much he cares for the most vulnerable in our society. And you want to bring a motion of no confidence? I would say that you are very poorly advised to do so. So I would strongly urge all members to reject this unfounded and distracting vote of no confidence so we can get on with the vital work and continue to deliver on our promises and our plans. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And Councillor Rampton, I think you were next.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to highlight a few key achievements in my area of adult social care and housing, mainly over the last 20 months. So, supporting over 4,000 households in the last year who were at risk of homelessness, delivering that uninterrupted telecare service 24/7 to 5,000 plus clients through a pandemic, developing at pace extra care housing strategy of new build and repurpose to support our residents to live safe and independent lives, securing £250 million investment over 5 years to build over 1,000 additional homes, most of them affordable. And of course, my real baby, development of a fab and innovative care tech offer which has potential to make a real step change in the very near future, embedded within adult social care and housing and enabling independence and quality of life for our residents. A strengths-based approach in adult social care, integrating community and voluntary sector support and meeting individual needs in a person-centred way. Thanks to you all tonight, or most of you tonight, council housing services will be aligned for those 10,000 households. Our hospital discharge scheme, we had that single response which helped volumes of people to get out of hospital during the COVID pandemic in a really slick way. We've recruited shared lives carers and additional supported living for people with a learning disability, and which is increasing their housing options. That extra investment in adult social care and those ambitious home building plans have enabled many of these initiatives, and there's more to come. Okay, you heard earlier Lou Knight, his comments. This is a forward-looking council, and that is what Councillor Mellor leads. It's a caring, compassionate, competent, Conservative-led administration with vision and purpose, as opposed to a lethargic, lame, lacklustre liability, which was the failed Lib Dem-led alliance. This motion will fall tonight, Mr. Chair, and it deserves to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rampton. Councillor Brown, please.
Thank you, Chair. I wasn't particularly going to speak tonight, but some of the things I heard I feel need to be corrected and addressed. Just like to thank the Chair actually for his reminder about the language used in this chamber, something the current leader should heed, as I've seen and experienced more disrespectful language from that position than any others in this chamber. A member said earlier that residents do not want an alliance, they want one party to run this council, so why did only 32% of residents vote for those on the administration, whereas over 60% of residents voted for other parties? Another member said about introduced business processes and business disciplines to the running of the council. Well, if so, a business would have failed with the record they've currently got on answering the telephone and dealing with online inquiries from residents. I don't know what planet some of the administration members live on. I spoke to a person today, didn't even know who I was, and they were talking about the recent Private Eye article, and they were scathing about this council. And I'd never met them before. Residents, just every day, are telling me they just cannot get through to this council. They can't get through on the phone. They cannot get things done. They try online reporting. The systems are failing. We've been told that it will take about a year to try and address the problems with the online systems and to try and fix them. That's not good enough. They're just not working. We've lost swathes of experienced and knowledgeable officers across all teams, and we're relying in too many places on filling gaps with agency staff. The transformation plans on which the future of BCP Council's built, which were previously had funding set aside by the Unity Alliance, are now unfunded, and they look increasingly unlikely to deliver the savings that are needed. We've just heard another colleague mentioned about planning services which are failing. They're failing to meet deadlines and failing to deliver for the needs of businesses and homeowners in getting planning applications decided. Children's services are failing. So many departments on this council that I hear issues with are failing. It's just beggars belief that they can sort of still support this leader. This leadership just appears more interesting in property development and vanity projects rather than delivering good public services and answering the phone to residents. Councillor Phipps said the reputation of this council is in shreds, and I completely agree with her. She's completely right. This council has a shredded reputation. The BCP project to merge the 3 towns and the 3 councils, as far as I'm concerned, is failing before our eyes, and the leader has a lot of responsibility for that and should step down.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Mike Green, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Many of my colleagues have spoken this evening about why we shouldn't support this motion, and I hope others will listen. But we really do need to examine the other scenario. I'm sure that with so much important work for the Council to do, the proposer of this motion wouldn't have brought it if she believed it had no chance of success. That would be a disgraceful and disrespectful waste of time for so many of our officers, both here in the chambers and those who have helped prepare. No, this is a critical motion, possibly the most important decision we ever have to make, as it determines the whole strategic direction of the Council. The Conservatives have a vision, a philosophy and ambitions. The parties to the political left of us have very different ones, and a choice needs to be made between them. Only an idiot would instigate that debate without knowing what they would do if their no-confidence motion was successful, and the proposer of this motion is no idiot. Success for the motion tonight would leave the proposer just 2 options. She could support a Conservative-led administration, or she could support an administration made up of Labour, the Greens and the Liberal Democrats. As members deciding whether or not to support the proposer's motion this evening, she should tell us what the result would be for her. More important, the residents who have put their trust in her and the Christchurch Independent Party should also be told what she will choose. Mr. Chairman, the proposer has 3 minutes to sum up the debate. It will take her just a few seconds of that to tell us and her residents what her intentions would be if the motion succeeds. Will she support a Conservative administration or an administration of the Conservatives' opponents? Much has been said this evening about honour, about respect and disrespect, about the need for transparency and for honesty. An honest, respectful and honourable person wouldn't duck that question, and I sincerely hope that the proposer of this motion won't later this evening. She needs to tell her constituents right now, if the motion succeeds, what will she do? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Green. Councillor Brooks, please.
Sorry, Chair, we're just sorting out some microphones. It's been a pleasure in these last 2 years to work with the Conservative administration. I have sat over here, as members well know, but when the COVID pandemic came, being a retail specialist as a chartered surveyor, I saw the need to actually get things done. And getting things done was to approach the Conservative administration and actually embark on a number of projects to support our businesses, our retailers, and effectively employment. Now, if I'd had the opportunity to speak to the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, which I referred to earlier, and given 3 minutes before it was told that it was adjourned, they would have learnt a lot more about some of the things that we're able to do. But I was denied that opportunity, and I regret that, and I hope the Chair regrets it as well. But I was much concerned about seeing things move in our district centres, and pilots have happened in Broadstone, in Kinson, and in Highcliffe. And I can tell you, speaking to the businesses, the residents, those who frequent district centres, they are seeing a change. And I hope that process with the numerous district centres that we have will continue, and we'll appreciate it because we'll get feedback from our residents. But I was just thinking about leadership qualities, and I thought it would be opportune to just actually reflect on those leadership qualities that I have found in Drew Mellor. We've all worked under different leaders in different jobs, in different situations, and I'm not talking about your husband, your wife, or your partner. I'm talking about those that we've served, and we've seen qualities that actually ring, and you say they've got something special. But I have found that he is an effective communicator. He is responsible and accountable. He doesn't duck those things. He has a long-term strategy with the deputy leader as well, thinking out of the box and having vision. And we've seen some of those visions in the big plan coming forward. He has self-motivation, setting goals, which is important to keep on track to the future. He has confidence in taking tough decisions, and we all have tough decisions to take. He has people skills and indeed compassion. And that's why I'm sitting at the back this evening. He has emotional intelligence, recognizing the nuances of different members of his cabinet and his support teams. He's open-minded. He listens to people's suggestions. I've found in many situations people don't listen. You think they do, that they don't. But Drew listens to people's suggestions. He connects with ethics. We're governed under this council by our constitution. We have respect for that. And that's the way that we have to operate, and he respects that. He's an optimist. He can see the positive where there are difficult times. We've come through COVID. We've got to make a difference and keep that track going. At times, he has humility, helping others find ways, getting things done. As Beverly has said, great support to tackle many things. And lastly, he has a passion for improving our conurbation and our region. And thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Brooke. Councillor Mark Anderson, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Unlike the proposers of this motion, I believe that actions taken by this administration have shown BCP residents how this council should be run. We demonstrated last year, through our summer resilience programme, how to run a successful seaside resort without the need to declare a major incident, and we haven't attracted international attention for mishandling the council's tourist industry, as the Liberal Democrat-led alliance, which they are members of, did. As part of the summer resilience programme, we also took measures to ensure we dealt properly the waste which was sadly left on our beaches, where the Liberal Democrat-led alliance ran the council. We introduced bigger bins and the measures to deal with the side waste. Also, unlike the Christchurch Independent Party, the proposers of this motion, we believe in investing our efforts across the whole of BCP, and as a result, Christchurch has benefited. In many areas, both Christchurch Borough Council and the Dorset Council Christchurch councillors have neglected their residents. We have, through our seasonal response and cleaner, greener, safer initiatives, introduced enhanced cleaning, weed treatment and restoring street furniture, which are already helping to improve Christchurch. When we took control of BCP Council, we provided Christchurch with 2 mini sweepers to allow more of the town streets to be cleaned, and a gully wagon for clearing out all the blocked drains, something Christchurch Borough Council failed to do. Some of these gullies haven't seen a cleaner for years, and I've seen pictures of some that have had to be manually emptied of earth because they haven't been cleaned for that long. We've expanded the seafront ranger teams to cover the whole of the Christchurch seafront. The beach cleaning teams have worked on clearing blown sand from Avon Beach and Friars Cliff. And unlike the Christchurch Independent Party, the chairman of the Friars Cliff Beach Hut Association praised the team for their work. And also, like several of the other members who have mentioned beach huts, I have been to many of the AGMs organised by the beach hut owners, and they are quite happy with the SPV and the way we're going about it once we've explained it. The motion proposer has complained to the press that we neglect the roads in Christchurch, where I can tell her that 28 roads have had major structural work done. 7 have had surfacing works. A further 11 have had asphalt prevention surface treatment, and a further 4 have just finished having major surfacing works. We've also done work on protecting the beaches. We have secured £450,000 for a Christchurch Bay FSERM strategy. This, when complete, will allow access to funding for multiple schemes, needed to stop flooding in Christchurch and would be worth approximately 22.7 million when complete. We will also be able to save the cost of biannual beach recycling schemes, which has been paid from revenue in past years because the old Christchurch Council failed to create a suitable FSM strategy. Last year's programme, along with the groin replacement programme, cost £225,000. In addition, we've also carried out another £59,000 of repairs on the seafront assets in Christchurch. So, Chairman, as you can see, we must continue with Drew Mellor as leader, or we will lapse again into the complacency of the Liberal-led alliance. And finally, I would like to thank Councillor Farquhar for his public support in the echo of our fly tipping initiatives, as an example of the good work done by this administration, and I trust he will be voting against the vote of no confidence, as it is clear we are working with our residents. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Councillor Nicola Green, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't imagine it will be much of a surprise that I won't be supporting the motion as set out by Councillor Dedman. While its inflated hyperbole and colourful language may well deserve a place as a council collector's piece, that is the extent of its utility, albeit that I hadn't expected to be invited to the launch of the Christchurch Independence local election campaign. It is full of vague allegation, speculation and assertion, without a full understanding of the facts, but this shouldn't be a surprise from those who always took a we know best approach. It does, however, follow on entirely logically from the approach of the members opposite at our recent budget meeting, with the honourable exception of Councillor Rigby, with whom I respectfully but entirely disagree. Not a single idea, not a credible alternative, no meaningful engagement, simply a host of ways in which to say no. Today's relentless negativity reinforces this conduct and adds nothing. A display of competitive outrage, a motion put without waiting to understand what really happened and what guidance was available, while the truth, or particularly a rigorous understanding of the facts, get in the way of a bad story. So, in calling this special council meeting, what is it that you hope to achieve? What do you stand for? What is it that you're proposing to deliver for our residents? Is it more policy by chaos and whimsy, as in the previous administration? I know what this side of the chamber stands for. Ambition, community, optimism, investment, never forgetting whose money it is that we spend and why we want to deliver on quality public services for our residents. Where's your big pan? Have you even got a little one? Councillor Mellor's leadership has been ambitious, empowering, enthusiastic and energising. Unsurprisingly, it's challenging, but challenging in the best way, always asking us and himself whether we can do better, never settling for the easy way if the outcome can be better. What is less visible, indeed it's a well-kept secret, is his kindness, his thoughtfulness and his support for colleagues, for which I have been truly grateful. Councillor Broadhead is an incredibly hard-working deputy with immense breadth of experience, a fantastic advocate for BCP around the country and a true friend. I am appalled by some of the personal attacks and comments which have been made tonight. When a similar motion brought the previous administration to a close, however direct and difficult some of the messages were during that debate, I was pleased to note that members focused on matters of policy, delivery and substance. What a contrast tonight with some of the character assassination you've indulged in. You've called a fellow councillor a lackey and assumed it's okay to state as fact that people are telling untruths. Is this really your bid to the residents of BCP? This motion is simply an ill-willed settling of scores, talking down the hard work and the achievement of officers, payback for past slights and rehashing debates which have already been lost. It has no merits, no substance, and it's an egregious misuse of Council's time. I will not be supporting the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Green. Councillor Mark Robson, please, as you indicate.
Thank you, Chair. There seems to be a bit of confusion, I think, why and what we're voting on. We have heard about the success of the council and the money that's been spent on services and everything else. Don't forget that a lot of that we've agreed to. They are good ideas. I don't mind the big plan. I don't mind the ambition. But we're here as a vote of no confidence in the way the leadership is conducting those operations. The business about the COVID last week, well, only the members involved when the investigation is done can clear their consciences why they came in, who made the call. Whether you made the call or not as a leader and deputy leader, you are the leader and the deputy leader. You must have sanctioned what happened. We will find out the true cause of that. There seems to be an aggression from the other side of the hall that we're taking... Give me a second. That we want to make a power grab. Now, I'm pretty sure that you've got the numbers to defeat this motion. That's not what this is about. I'm looking at some really good people over there, and I know from the experience that I've had, luckily in my career, of working with some of the best leaders in the country, that you can do better. This council can do better. I'm not here to assassinate these guys as good guys, fathers or charity workers. They do a fantastic job with that. It's how they go about leading this council. I'm looking at good people over there. You can do better. Sure as heck, this council deserves better so that we can move on from where we are now, which is slowly falling off the cliff. There's some great military leaders have once said in their philosophy, you know, if you treat your soldiers like children and give them treats, they will follow you to the end of the earth. And that is true, they will. But if you treat your soldiers with respect, they will be the mountain goats that push you up the hill and back you all the way to the top. This motion that arrived in our inbox at 6:05 today about the scrutiny, that's not open and transparent, that's lastminute.com. What did that scrutiny panel do to give us 3 options to vote on? What a waste of time, what a disrespect to that council to bring a motion like that at the last minute. That's not leadership, that's desperation. So all I ask of everyone in this chamber, when you vote tonight, dig deep into your integrity, be strong to your beliefs. You can do better as a group, I know that, and I say, we deserve better, and certainly the residents of this BCP demand better. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Robson. Any more people wish to indicate? Because prior to calling Councillor Dedman to reply, I'll be Councillor Broadhead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to members from across the chamber for the debate tonight. I thought I would use the opportunity to address some of the comments that have been made, many of them which, you know, I sometimes accuse of spin, is kind of spin on steroids. Councillor Dedman, to start with, used the peer challenge that we had recently as an example and brought out points of that about why we needed change. I would respectfully suggest, Councillor Dedman, that you used that document quite sparingly, because if you read the beginning of the document, and I will read from it, it says, and bear in mind this was a cross-party group of councillors from across the country as well as officers, recent political changes resulting in a Conservative majority administration appear to be bringing a sense of stability to the organisation, which will provide an opportunity for sustained focus on priorities. And furthermore, it's widely recognised that the Council has strong and ambitious leadership. Specific reference was made to the positive approach of the leader, deputy leader and chief executive. That was the opening of that document. So, you know, if we want to pin everything on the peer challenge, then I think that's it's pretty clear what that independent view was. A few other mistruths that have been going around. Councillor Dedman also spoke about the concierge service that we are offering. She's absolutely right, but she quotes from our economic development strategy, not from our planning strategy. That is about offering a concierge service to our businesses and business support post-pandemic to make sure that they thrive into the future. And I won't shy away from that. I'm completely proud of that. We've also heard a lot of talk about future places, which, let's be clear, is our council-owned regeneration wing, which is now putting the council in the driving seat rather than having to rely on getting into bed with developers. It's been going a matter of months. We've only just finished the recruitment of the full staff, and already it's been getting the eye of government with advanced conversations with the likes of Homes England and more to come on that. Mr. Chairman, Councillor McCormack talks about a plan that was given out about the Christchurch Civic Centre. Let's be clear, Councillor McCormack, that wasn't about the Christchurch Civic Centre itself. It was a plan shared about putting more trees into the car park to assist a developer that is working next door. Councillor Hadley talks about a purported sale of a site of a unit in Poole, which is simply not happening. I don't know where this document has come from. It's not on the Cabinet Forward Plan. We ain't selling that asset. Councillor Trent talked and was very critical about the panel of the Community Infrastructure Levy, a panel which is cross-party and includes a member of his own party, Councillor Burton, who I think does an incredible job. What we haven't heard a lot of tonight, because they don't want to talk about it, is everything we're doing. Investment in every single area. Children's, as we've heard, 35%. Housing, adults, transportation, regeneration, cleansing, as you've heard from my colleague next door to that, particularly around Christchurch. Culture, carers, planning. I'd remind members, as Councillor Bull said it was failing. It was failing, unfortunately, under your watch. We were nearly in special measures, with only 60% of applications being done in time. We're now over 90%. And then finally, our local plan, the biggest consultation we've ever done, and I'll make a commitment now, we will protect our green belt by developing brownfield sites. Chairman, I will support Councillor Mellor because I've been called an optimist before. I have a saying, never say no to anything, always find a way to say yes. Councillor Drew Mellor does that on steroids. It's not just a yes, but let's do it even better, quicker, and it's so refreshing to work under that, and it's exactly what we need.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Broadhead. Anybody else wishing to contribute before I call on, prior to calling Councillor Dedmans to reply, need the leader to respond. Councillor Mellor, please.
Thank you.
Sorry, I couldn't see it. Councillor Mellor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. And just before I start what I plan to say, what a period of reflection and pride in terms of what we've actually achieved and what we've actually heard, that we've actually been managed to put forward in the last 20 months. And I thank everybody for their comments and contribution massively. Slightly less so, Councillor Farr, in his reference to Postman Pat, when I look at how often delivery is in my speech going forward. So I'll do my very best to cut as many of those out as possible. One thing I do want to do, Chair, and absolutely seriously, and let's be absolutely clear. Every member of my group followed the COVID government guidance to the letter and the spirit. And to insinuate otherwise is both deeply offensive and blatant politicking. What's worse, this issue was only raised as every member of the opposition who was here tried to force a vote through this chamber when one of our more elderly members was using the toilet. If there is a debate on character and integrity, I suggest you look that way. Let's also be absolutely clear, what we're discussing is a vote of no confidence in me, this administration. A vote. What is a vote? A formal indication of a choice between two or more candidates. When I stood in front of you on October the 1st and was elected the leader of this council, I stood in front of you as a minority group leader. It was 36 colleagues. Now I stand in front of you as 41 Conservative colleagues. How have we got there? 4 members have voted, have made a clear choice about where they wish to sit. And there's good reason for doing that. Also, what have we done? We won a by-election. We've delivered Sean Gabriel, a fantastic local councillor, to our benches across here. So it's not just this chamber has voted, our electorate has voted, and they've backed this administration. Well, in contrast is that to the previous administration. It was crumbling, it was falling apart. People were walking away from it. And a lot of those people now sit on these benches. Why do we increasingly have the confidence of this chamber? We've heard about compassion, our care, putting children at the heart of what we're trying to do, community, culture. It is our level of ambition, our record of delivery, and, Chair, our absolute promise of more. Delivery, we heard about record investment, 35% investment in children's services. Hugely more. It wasn't even 1%, in investment in the one budget you put through. Massive investment into adult social care. Millions into our cleaner, greener, safer agenda. Why? Because we are proud of what this area is. We believe this is one of the best areas in the country, and we're going to back it. We're going to back our town centres, and we're going to back our seafronts, and we're delivering on that. £20 million for our green and sustainability agenda. What did we hear when you were running this administration? A lot of hot air about that promise around climate and emergency. What are we doing? Absolutely putting our money where our mouth is to make change.
3 minutes.
So, I'll just close, Joe, by saying it's an absolute privilege to stand here. I thank all of my colleagues, and across the chamber. And as long as I've got the support of this council, which I believe I will shortly be proven to have, I'll be re-emboldened to do this task. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Dedman, I'd like you to afford you the right to reply now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I don't think I've heard anything to change my view, not from no confidence to confidence in the Council Conservative leadership, and in fact I was challenged to say what I would do if this motion was won, which I hope it will be.
I would certainly find the notion of supporting this cobbled together quasi-conservative administration would go totally against the view of the residents of Christchurch. They didn't vote for this merger and they did not vote for the Tories. I have been encouraged to hear that many good people would support this motion if they felt free to do so. And this motion isn't about only the fiasco of a meeting which we were told was ended for health issues by the Chief Executive, bad though that was. If they weren't health issues, what issues were they? More will come out on that, I'm sure. The points put from the administration side were all rather similar, a lot of fulsome praise for the leader, and the leader's go-ahead ways. Some laboured the fact that they serve the residents, while a lot of the residents really don't think that. That's why this motion is here. We are here for the residents, but we hear a lot of your place plans, but how are the needs of the people addressed? And thank you, Councillor Broadhead, so sorry. I almost forgot your name there, Phil, I'm so sorry. Can I have that struck out, please? Yeah. In the peer review says the needs of the people are not addressed. It's all words, it's all spin. We've been told residents want a conservative leadership, not the Unity Alliance. Well, the residents didn't vote for a conservative administration, did they? All the bragging from the leader on how... I'm so sorry, who's talking? All the bragging from the leader, councillors have crossed the floor to join the winning side, although not so much about the reasons for them crossing the floor. I don't think any of this political spin is of any interest to folk in our communities who just want our council to be reliable and responsible and not featured in private eye. The residents aren't asking for a city by the sea, not for a world-beating, well, anything you care to mention really, whatever the leader cares to focus on. Our residents want a council they can be proud of. We were accused of being insular. We are not insular, not only in Christchurch, not only in Poole, not only in Bournemouth. We want quality, not quantity. We want a good council, which is not this council. It's a travesty, not only of what we were promised, but a travesty of the 11th largest council. It's run like a leader's fiefdom. Our residents deserve better, and I do hope that the members can see that it's this administration that needs to change. I have no confidence that they can give the communities the council that will serve them instead of the leadership's ambition. And I really think that the leadership should step down and give our communities the council we were promised and that we deserve. Thank you, Chairman. I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Councillor Devlin. Thank you, members. That was very thorough. As more than 17 councillors indicated that they wished for a recorded vote, could I now call upon the Chief Executive to conduct a recorded vote?
Thank you, Chairman. Just to be clear, councillors, then you're voting on the motion of no... So you're voting on the motion of no confidence. So if you're in favour of the motion, please vote for. If you're against, please vote against. The alternative is to abstain. Councillor Hazel Allen. Against. Councillor Lewis Allison. For. Councillor Mark Anderson.
Against.
Councillor Sarah Anderson. Councillor Marcus Andrews.
For.
Councillor Julie Bagwell.
Against.
Councillor Steve Barron.
Against.
Councillor Stephen Bartlett.
Against.
Councillor John Beasley.
Against.
Councillor Derek Borthwick. Councillor Philip Broadhead.
Against.
Councillor Mike Brooke.
For.
Councillor Nigel Brooks.
Against.
Councillor David Brown.
For.
Councillor Simon Bull.
For.
Councillor Richard Burton.
For.
Councillor Diana Butler.
Abstain.
Councillor Daniel Butt.
Against.
Councillor Judy Butt.
Against.
Councillor Eddie Coop.
Against.
Councillor Mike Cox.
For.
Councillor Malcolm Davies.
Against.
Councillor Leslie Dedman. Councillor Brian Dion.
Against.
Councillor Bobby Dove. Councillor Beverley Dunlop. Councillor Millie Earle.
For.
Councillor George Farquhar.
For.
Councillor Dwayne Farr.
Against.
Councillor Lawrence Fear.
Against.
Councillor Anne Filer.
Against.
Councillor Sean Gabriel. Against. Councillor Mike Green.
Against.
Councillor Nicola Green. Thank you. Councillor Andy Hadley.
For.
Councillor May Haynes. Councillor Peter Hall.
Against.
Councillor Paul Hilliard. Councillor Mark Howell.
For.
Councillor Mohan Iyengar. Councillor Cheryl Johnson. Councillor Toby Johnson.
Against.
Councillor Andy Jones. Councillor Jane Kelly.
Against.
Councillor David Kelsey.
Against.
Councillor Bob Lawson.
Against.
Councillor Lisa Lewis.
For.
Councillor Rachel Maidment. Councillor Chris Matthews.
For.
Councillor Simon McCormack.
For.
Councillor Drew Mellor.
Against.
Councillor Pete Miles. Councillor Sandra Moore. Councillor Lisa Northover.
For.
Councillor Susan Phillips.
Against.
Councillor Margaret Phipps.
For.
Councillor Karen Rampton. Councillor Felicity Rice.
For.
Councillor Vanessa Ricketts. Councillor Chris Rigby.
For.
Councillor Mark Robson. Councillor Roberta Rocker. Councillor Vicky Slade.
For.
Councillor Tony Trent. Councillor Mike White.
Against.
Councillor Lawrence Williams. Then Councillor Tony O'Neill. And Councillor Nigel Hedges.
Against. Thank you, members. 27 for, 41 against and 1 abstention.
Sorry,
40, I beg your pardon, with 1 abstention. So the motion is defeated. Thank you. I will now afford you a 10-minute break before our next meeting.